ladies, gentlemen, and friends beyond the binary, welcome to... Should probably adjust my camera a little bit. I had to adjust it from when I was filming earlier. And what happened was my alarm didn't go off for this podcast, or for the stream. So what happened was that I found out, like, right before the stream was about to start, that I'm like, ah! Is this a good look? This should be a good look. This should maybe a little bit more to that. There we go. That's good. I'm good with that. I'm happy with that. Hi, my name's Tristan. I'm the host of the YouTube channel Step Back at stepbackhistory.com and the podcast It's Probably Not Aliens at probsnotaliens.com. Hello, hello, hello. I stream Fridays at noon, which is the stream that you are watching right now. If you wish to support my work, you can do so by going to nebula.tv/stepback or patreon.com/stepbackhistory. Or if you have Amazon Prime, you get one free Twitch Prime subscription. You can always give me a Prime subscription. That always helps. Or things like Super Chats, bits, and Twitch subscriptions are all very welcome and very appreciated. My most recent video is called Okay, Fine, I'll Talk About Ancient Apocalypse, which came out a few weeks ago, and I am very happy with how people have been receiving it. So thank you. It's the 13th most successful video in the channel's history, and it's less than a month old, which is wild. My next video, which is going to come out right after this stream is over. So right after the stream is over, you can load it up and watch it, is called The Iraq War, How the Media Sold Us a Lie. Yeah. Because this is the 20th anniversary of the Iraq War. So, yeah, the Iraq War, How the Media Sold Us a Lie. It features clips from my interview with Noam Chomsky. So, that's fun. Still a thing I can't believe actually happened. But yeah, that's great. And yeah, I'm looking forward to that. And then I guess I should get to work on my next video. Well, I got to put Positive Leftist News together today, and then I'll work on my next video. If you want to submit questions to the stream, I've got a link I'm going to put in the chat. Just go to that website and submit questions, and I will try to answer those questions. And if there are new folks in the chat, please, if it's your first time watching, say hello. We have a very great chat community, and we would be happy to have you as part of it. Toss some teddy bears across the river to cheer you up. All right, I'll try my best. Yeah, got a lot of fun discourse today anyway, or a lot of interesting discourse today anyway. All right. Yeah. Okay. So that's all the opening spiel out of the way. The changing of the Pepsi logo? They changed the Pepsi logo? I gotta see this. Changed the logo for the first time in 14 years. I gotta see this. Dear God. Okay. I'm not a fan. Okay. Anyways, let's get me on the horn, shall we? Oh, Mia says she's having headphone issues and she'll be here in just a moment. Okay. Well, you guys will have to be stuck with just me entertaining you for a few minutes. So. What? Mia Mulder. Yep. Is I don't even. The new Pepsi logo, they just changed the font that Pepsi's written in. Not a huge deal. They still kept the blue, red, white ball thingy. What is that supposed to be anyway? Anyways. That's sort of my, that's sort of what's going. We could talk about the fact that Trump has to go to jail or he's gonna get at least an ankle monitor. That should be fun. And who knows what else? What do I do with this? How is this? I need to make sure I'm not too loud. Is this too loud? Because I remember that Mia always is a lot louder than me, so I gotta like balance out. Hopefully this is good. I probably sound very close to the microphone now, though. So, because we got Star Trek to talk about. We got Trump going to jail to talk about. We've got, what else do we have? Today's the Trans Day of Visibility, so gotta talk about that. Oh, I see a Mia. Oh, look at those fancy pants new headphones. Looks like Mia's got fancy new headphones, and that's what she's trying to troubleshoot right now. Let me see. Get all the questions up to date.
Hello?
Hello.
Hello?
Hello. I think she's still waiting to be able to hear from us.
Hello?
Hello. Can you hear me?
Oh God. Why can't I hear anything?
Oh no. Or no. Or nor. As the Australians would say, or nor. Oh yeah, didn't like Philadelphia also get its like drinking water shut off for like a day or so? God. I don't even know what happened with that. Oh. Can Mia hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes. Look at those fancy new headphones.
And now it's gone.
No!
Ah! Immediately, it just disappeared. What the fuck? Why?
Bunch of Ottawa people are coming to Ottawa. That's bunch of convoy people are coming to Ottawa this week on the back of the China interference discourse. How is there still convoy people? I thought their entire thing was being against doing COVID measures, and we're basically not doing any anymore. Like, they got their wish. People are dying from COVID. That's what they wanted. I don't understand.
Okay, now I can actually... No,
What?
The second I start talking, everything falls apart.
Oh dear, that's not good.
Okay, but I can hear you.
You can hear me?
Okay, so far we're good. I know.
Okay. You look suspicious.
I am very suspicious.
So what's happening?
Yeah, no, you're just gone.
I'm gone now?
The second I start talking, it just disengages your entire sound. Unless I click a very specific button, and I can't keep doing that forever.
What an interesting design for your headphones. Can you hear me okay?
Okay, now I can hear you.
Okay.
And immediately gone.
You gotta like get some duct tape and put it on the button.
Hold on. I'll see if I can come back with like another pair of headphones.
All right, we're gonna keep rotating that PDF, everybody. They switched, so now they're just back to being the pipeline people. The I guess that was called a convoy too, wasn't it? The just like being generically mad at Justin Trudeau for reasons that are not comprehensible. Man, Canadian reactionaries, like, they have this like weird passionate hatred of Justin Trudeau that I don't understand, because Justin Trudeau gives them everything they want. The federal government has brutalized Indigenous people trying to protect their lands from freaking pipeline construction, and has basically poured infinite money into building more oil pipelines to establish new oil trade routes with China. Like, what more could the convoy people actually want than what they basically asked for, which is no COVID measures and more of the economy of Canada being singularly focused on the transporting of oil out of Alberta. Like, that was their two policy profiles, and they have both. Albertan here, nothing will get them over Pierre Elliott Trudeau. So it's just them being mad at his dad? Dear God. Canada is just one big oil company, isn't it? The government is basically the law enforcement arm of Canadian oil corporations, yes. But we're not just oil corporations. We're also it also represents the brutal armored fist of lumber extraction corporations and 5 of the world's biggest mining concerns. But Canada as a state basically just exists to facilitate the profits of a handful of gigantic primary resource extraction corporations, yes. And so the different parties just represent which major extraction. There's 2 major political parties that represent the 2 sides of major extraction resource corporations. Like, the Conservatives basically want the entire Canadian government to be focused on the singular purpose of producing oil. And the Liberal Party wants to just do what they can to not only the Liberals want to diversify. They don't just want to serve oil. They also want to serve mining and lumber production. Canada's not copying anything. It's just Canada's not really a country. It's pretending that it's anything but a colony, in like the sense that it is just a oligarchical small organization that is meant to facilitate the mass harvesting of resources from a large amount of Indigenous territory. That's about all Canada exists to do, so. They're glomming onto the China thing now so they can justify attacking democracy. The China thing is the weird China like explosion that's been going on. Like the attempt to make a political controversy out of this China thing it feels like the biggest nothing burger. Like, it really does seem like they're doing everything they can to just make to just force an existence of this like, controversy that isn't a controversy. Oh God, Tristan, I actually caught your stream. I haven't seen you in live what feels like 6 months. Missed these. Well, hello, Fallout 2 Forever. Welcome to the stream.
I have solved my issue.
You
I'm
have?
emerging from the darkness to fix it.
Excellent. What happened?
So I got a new computer because I got tired of rendering my videos for 2.5 hours, like just to finish a single scene, and then having to do that 3 or 4 times because you have to render your videos 8 different times before it's done. So I got a new computer, and my headphones broke. So because of that, I have to reinstall Discord, reinstall everything here. I'm using new earphones and stuff. And for some reason, they have this like fancy setting that whenever I start talking, it stops all the sounds coming into my ears. Which I guess is good in case I want to have like a conversation with people while listening to music. But like, I'm using them to talk to people, so I don't know how that's supposed to actually work.
Yeah, that
anyway,
is weird.
hi. We're back now, and it works.
Somebody just mentioned... First of all, I'm getting a handful of just Mia Mulders in the chat, which has been a bit.
Mia Mulder.
Someone did also point out that it's legendary tall poster Mia Mulder.
Yeah. Ironic that on Trans Day of Visibility, I'm invisible for because of technical difficulties.
Yeah. Well, happy Trans Day of Visibility. I hope you're feeling very visible right now.
Oh, it feels so extraordinarily visible. You don't even know.
Oh,
I feel the most visible. I've never felt more visible.
Well.
So
Congratulations.
I saw someone on Twitter talking about how it feels that Trans Day of Visibility is like one of those things that was important, like before people knew about trans people. Now everyone knows about trans people, and like there's a part of me that kind of longs for the darkness and longs for invisibility.
Yeah, I suppose
it's a day.
I do like the concept of there being like a day for celebrating trans people that isn't just like a day of mourning.
Yeah, I mean that is good. I think we do need a day like that.
Or you
But
could
if
just go.
Today's that day. Who knows?
Yeah. So I also learned, I was listening to a podcast about the 30 Years' War, and I didn't realize that Sweden,
As you do.
Sweden just had randomly their king die in the middle of Germany.
Yeah.
Gustavus Adolphus.
A lot of our kings die on the European continent, on the European mainland. Like a lot of them do that because you know how kings stopped leading armies into battle like in the Middle Ages? Yeah. Swedish kings just kept doing that like up until the Napoleonic Wars.
I see. It seems like this might have kept Sweden from becoming one of the great powers of Europe.
But we became one of the great powers of Europe. We only stopped because of the Russians in the Great Nordic War, where they took Finland from us. And we still haven't forgiven them.
Oh man. Well, it was an interesting podcast to listen to while I was listening to it. And now I don't know if I think I've told you this. Like, I know fuck all about European history.
I mean, to be fair, I know fuck all about North American history, so.
And I
we balance each other out.
And I don't know. I didn't realize that like, basically, Europe just had like one of its first of many world wars over like what slightly different flavor of Jesus they want to get into.
Oh yeah. You're surprised by that? And
killed like 20% of the population of the continent. I didn't realize that like 1 in 5 Europeans died in this like one war, this one like endless war between basically every country in Europe. But almost all the fighting happened in Germany.
Yeah, we did a lot of... That was a big war. It was a bad war.
And then it ended with...
We got a lot of shit, though. Sweden led the Protestants to victory. The Lion of the North. Undefeated!
Tell that to Gustavus Adolphus, then.
That's true.
But then
Still won the war, though.
And it ended with countries. The concept of countries now exist.
Yeah.
Wild.
I know, right?
So that was fun. That was a fun romp through history. But before we get into talking about stuff, maybe you should tell everybody who you are and where you can be visible at.
I'm visible at miamulder.com. That takes you to my YouTube channel, where occasionally I make YouTube videos. I haven't made one for this month yet. I have one coming out in like 2 weeks. It's about trans stuff, actually. I did not mean to have it close to Trans Day of Visibility. If I had, I probably would have planned to have on Trans Day of Visibility, but I have not. I'm delayed. I'm gonna be late by like 2 weeks.
Yeah, I think I mentioned it to you this morning in a DM, and you're like, "Oh shit, that's today."
I know, right? No, I have no idea. I don't observe Trans Day of Visibility.
Trans Day of Invisibility.
Yeah. But I don't, though. I honestly don't. It's been a decade now of me doing the trans limbo, and after a while, all of these days just sort of merge into one.
I mean, if you think about it, isn't that what Pride was supposed to be for?
Yeah, kind of. See, I remember Pride when Pride happens.
In August. It's hard to miss. People start complaining on Twitter about kink usually about a month in advance before.
Oh, I can't wait until that happens. It's going to be so fun.
Yeah, this year it's going to be. I wonder what new thing they're going to bring out this year to talk about kink at Pride.
Just the absolute most cursed shit, as it always is. It's never something good. Talking about Pride discourse. I mean, it's going to be trans people at Pride this year, or drag at Pride.
Yeah, drag at Pride. There you go.
They're going to. I mean, honestly, aren't a lot of these fucking laws that they make in various U.S. states just going to make that happen?
Yeah, I'm surprised that Tennessee won't just make Pride illegal or something like that. That's because how do you the fact that they made drag illegal, how do you define that? How would you even you need again it's in America, these reactionary conservative states always just pass these rage laws that just say these blanket things and then have absolutely no details for how they would do it. So they're just drag shows are illegal. That's the new thing. And then they're okay, how do you define a drag show? How do you
Well, that's a fucked up thing, though, isn't it? Because some states define it as male or female impersonators, which they define as anyone who is portraying a gender that is different than the one that they were assigned at birth. So it includes trans people, and I've heard of I know of some musicians and podcasters and stuff who've been forced to cancel shows because they have a trans person as part of the cast. And if they do a live show and the trans person is on the show, it's can you do it?
Yeah.
By the letter of the law, no.
Dear God. Again, day 10 million or whatever of America, get your shit together. This is embarrassing for everybody involved.
Yeah.
Other than that, there is some good news. Possibly one of the funniest events in American history is going to happen in the next few days.
Yes.
Where Trump has been ordered to surrender.
And he has his legal team has said that he will surrender, and I am ecstatic over this.
Yeah, although I feel like it's his dream to have an ankle monitor so that he can't leave Mar-a-Lago.
I mean, he would do it. But no, he likes the attention too much. Going to live demonstrations and protests and stuff like that. He loves doing that shit.
True, but if the trial goes on long enough, it would be very, very, very funny if the primary debates start happening and he has to attend via a screen on the thing because he can't leave Mar-a-Lago. And also just testing the system. Can somebody be the presidential candidate and also be in jail?
See, I want that. I want Trump to be arrested. That's what I'm saying.
The other thing too is that it seems like Trump being indicted of a crime that he has been ordered to go to jail for, or let's be honest, he's rich, be under house arrest for.
Mm-hmm.
But it seems that overall, all it's done is hurt Meatball Ron's chances.
Meatball Ron.
Meatball Ron has been taking the hit in the polls for Trump's indictment.
Which is good, though. I'd rather have, honestly... I'm very happy over the fact that, like, Meatball Ron and Trump are fighting. Because whoever wins, we lose. But if they can take each other down, that's a win.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, I'd prefer to have Trump as president than fucking Ron DeSantis.
Yeah, we know for a fact that he's not very good at it, and he's also much funnier. I
know. Like, he's a piece of shit, but Ron is a piece of shit that's smart, that, like, does it efficiently. And that's the scary part.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Meatball Ron's too good at being a fascist, while Trump is just, he's just got water in the brain, and he doesn't understand basic things, and then everybody else does evil shit around him. Because he, like, ran like he was going to do, like, you know, the Fourth Reich in America, and then just became a generic Republican president for the most part.
Yeah.
Well, like, DeSantis is, like, literally trying to use this, like, weird... what I think is basically an attempt to mainstream and normalize QAnon and turning it into a general panic against basically all form of sexual deviancy as far as they're concerned.
Yeah. God, is this gonna end up in a situation where we're gonna have to, like, root for Trump in the Republican primary? If him and Ron DeSantis are like are the front runners, like, shit.
It'll be wild. All I can say is the Republican primaries are going to be buck wild.
Yeah. Can't wait. It's gonna be a shit show.
Can we make sure that Jimmy Carter stays alive and let him in office again? No! Hasn't he done enough damage?
Again. Put it back.
Jimmy Carter has done enough damage. He ruined the Democratic Party forever.
To be fair, the Democratic Party kind of wants to ruin itself.
But he's the guy who is like, hey, what if the Democrats also clamped down on unions and acted like dicks and, like, he was the first neoliberal Democratic president.
Oh.
Because he's still alive and was somehow president in the 1970s.
Oh, I know what we do. We resurrect FDR using necromancy.
I would vote for zombie FDR. I feel like they would call him, they'd be like, oh, he'd run in the primaries and then he'd be smeared by people for being Roosevelt bros. And they would say that, they'd be like, men will literally vote for a corpse instead of a qualified woman like Kamala Harris, with all the clap emojis.
I forgot Kamala Harris is vice president.
Everybody forgot. I think she forgot.
I straight up, like, oh yeah, she's around.
Yeah.
Because, like, she was so unpopular, like, in the first couple of months that, like, is she going to be able to run for president? Is she going to want to?
If I were to hazard a guess, my guess is that was the plan, but the fact that, like, there's a whole thing that basically makes me think that the idea was that they would make her she was so unpopular that she had to drop out of the primaries. So the whole idea was, like, well, obviously it's the voters who are wrong in this situation. So we'll make her vice president, and then everybody will just have to like her through the mere exposure effect. But then she came here and, like, the first thing she did was tell immigrants not to come into the country, and just is a charismatic black hole everywhere she goes. So then the Democrats, like, circled the fence and they're like, I guess we're going to take this decrepit old senile person who, like, looks like, as I always say, he looks like the king of Rohan when, like, Sauron was corrupting him. and like just are like,
and activate the Dark Brandon.
Yeah, they have to like make him keep happening. So my guess is that Biden, for lack of any good alternative, is just going to run again. Because like,
I can see it.
The closest thing they have to a like right wing like Democrat to fill the wings that has any chance would be what's it called? Mayo Ratface. The rat. The rat.
The guy who wants the guy who wants to be president of Venezuela.
Yeah. The very competent transportation secretary, while like every train in America is derailing and pouring like volatile chemicals into the atmosphere.
Every single vehicle that has hazardous materials just spontaneously explodes. Yeah. Why is that happening though? Like, okay, here's what I think. Here's my theory on the derailments and shit. I think these derailments happen all the time, but no one cares. And then that thing in East Palestine happened, and it was a big deal. And now every time a derailment happens, we make it a big deal, but maybe it's not actually like an increase of derailments.
That makes,
you just start to notice it.
That makes sense because when East Palestine first happened, the mainstream press tried very hard to not talk about it. And then when it became too big of a story because the amount of pollution it put out was like overwhelmingly bad, and the rail company was trying to get away by giving everybody like 10 grand and being like, yo, we're real sorry that you basically have to move to another part of the country because we did neoliberal Chernobyl in the middle of Ohio. They're like, well, all I can say is that I think anyways, that's distraction. But basically the media tried to not talk about it because that would put some fire under Pete Buttigieg. And I'm pretty convinced that most like urban journalists at the moment are like just scared shitless of criticizing the current administration because they're afraid of Trump. So they didn't want to do anything. And then we had to get a lot of articles about why Pete Buttigieg can't do anything. He's just a whittle Secretary of Transportation. The Secretary of Transportation doesn't do anything, anybody. They have nothing. He's baby. He's just a small boy. Yeah. He can't.
Please don't be angry at my trains.
Yeah. When if you just grabbed any random German and you drop them into the position, they'd probably do a better job. But that's also because they've played hours and hours of train games to manage things.
I literally, because I have a new computer, I literally just the other day bought Transport Fever 2.
As is your European...
As is, yeah.
The government gives them out, I think.
They give it actually to all Swedish politicians.
Yeah.
It's an important part of, it's a skill you need.
But basically the way that it worked is that trains carrying hazardous material had their regulations changed so that they only had to declare themselves as carrying hazardous material if they were under 50% hazardous material in their stuff. So a lot of these companies were carrying 49.9% hazardous material so that they could get around it, because if you have hazardous material, you have to have extra safety regulations and you can't use rails that go through cities and stuff like that. But and that costs money. So they just were like, screw it. And then they didn't realize that vinyl chloride is actually bad for you.
So bad.
Yeah.
God, the way that they've also been the EPA has been talking some shit about they talk shit about that the first week being the water's safe, it's not polluted. Meanwhile, people's hair is falling out and the rivers are purple.
Yeah.
Which isn't typically how it's supposed to be.
No, I'm no expert, but I don't think that's how it works. Also, just randomly, Philadelphia couldn't drink their water for a day and a half.
Yeah, what the fuck was the deal with that? I saw that too.
I don't know.
Is America just falling into a post-apocalyptic vibe?
Yeah, I mean, next year is the year that Parable of the Sower takes place in, and it seems like we're not too far from that actually existing. Did you ever read Parable of the Sower?
No.
It takes place in Fantasy 2024, where basically neoliberalism has accelerated to the point where the state exists and it's focusing on stuff like going to space and stuff. But like more or less every person on the ground, like every civilian lives in like they live in walled cities to protect themselves from like just random, like everyone's so poor and so desperate that everyone's just like murdering and robbing each other for what little scraps they can to survive. And a few communities are like walling themselves out. Like it's post-apocalyptic, but the government still exists. They've just completely given up on doing anything for anyone. And it's just like
realistic.
Yeah.
That sounds like modern day America.
Yeah. But yeah,
we're so fucked.
But Mayonnaise Pete, high hopes or not, probably doesn't seem like he would be able to take on Meatball Ron or Trump in the presidential. Can you imagine the debate? Can you imagine Donald Trump? It would be like, you know what it would be like? A debate between Pete Buttigieg and Donald Trump. There was one time where I was in a bar where sports was on the TV. And the game was between, it was like the Rugby World Cup or something like that. And the game was between Team Canada and the All Blacks. And it was just the saddest thing ever seen.
Oh, yeah. Ooh. Yeah. I don't know shit about rugby, but like I know that. That is
It's New Zealand sport. Nobody else is allowed to win.
They win every time. It's the law.
Mm-hmm. But like the people were like a solid like foot taller than like everybody on the Canadian teams. It was not fair. And it feels like that is what okay, just imagine what nickname he can make up for Pete Buttigieg.
I mean, I can't imagine the way he would be destroyed in that type of situation. I honestly think that he wouldn't be the worst Democratic candidate. He's not good, but no one's good. And I would prefer almost anyone else. But he could be worse. So I would like to see him run. But if he ran, he would be destroyed. Trump would declare exterminatus on him, and he would vanish from this earth.
Yeah. I would what's it called? I would support Bernie running if it was literally like Weekend at Bernie's. Like if we were literally supporting his corpse as it was running for president, I would still do it.
Yeah. I mean, Bernie for president, AOC as vice, and then we just all agree that Bernie's gonna die 2 days in, and that's fine.
Mm-hmm. The other option is John Fetterman. That giant man from Philadelphia who's
yeah. How tall is him?
How tall is him? I don't know.
How tall is him?
It's okay.
What's he called?
English,
John Fetterman?
English is your second language. It's fine.
Look up his height. He's taller than me. Holy shit.
Yeah, he's massive. He's a big man.
God in heaven.
The only things that would hold him back is that while he was campaigning, he had a small stroke. And he very recently had to take several months off of work for depression, basically. John Fetterman, but if he wanted to, he could just eat whoever he's running against. That is true. He is large enough.
Yeah, because he's bigger than...
He's our big boy who could be president.
Why doesn't the tallest Democrat simply eat the other five?
Yeah. So that's sort of where things are at. This year, because it's 2023, the election's next year, which means that it's going to be April tomorrow. In about a month and a bit is when people are going to start declaring their candidacy. I mean, we've already seen Trump, and we've already seen what the hell's her name? That never Trump Democrat or never Trump Republican. I can't remember what her name was, but she's declared.
Yeah.
Nikki Haley, I think.
Nikki Haley. I don't know anything about her, unfortunately.
She's bad. She is a like rank and file Republican. But then
good old-fashioned Republican.
Yeah, and then Meatball Ron will probably run. Marianne Williamson is declared for running. So we might be in the unenviable position of during the Democratic primaries having to ponder our orbs. That's the thing is now Marianne Williamson is running with post what's it called? Pondering your orb meme.
So she's going to use that as her like election material, and it's going to be outdated because it's a meme from
2022.
like last year.
It's ancient. Marianne Williamson also sucks at... Listen, there's very few... It's American politics. You have very few choices. They all
kind of suck ass.
All these people in the chat, you're people who have only been following American elections since 2016. You don't realize that, like, most elections you have zero choices.
You have. I mean, South Park made a whole thing about this for years, like since 2008 or something like that.
Douchebag and turd sandwich, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you get the choice between a douchebag and a turd sandwich.
But like, if you want one that has powerful meme potential on top of like being like powerful meme potential on top of having marginally better politics, then the only thing is that Marianne Williamson would not win the election.
No, she would not. She'd be really funny. I think we should start selecting our presidents based on like who would be funnier. Because I think Bernie Sanders could be really funny as president, and that's why I support him.
Yeah, I mean, this can't like he's perfect at like playing cantankerous old man being president. I feel like that would be a great character. Marianne Williamson in the debates against Trump would be extremely amusing because she can bring it. She's got like that. She's got that Texas accent, and also is like. She is insane in a very different way than Trump is, and their insanities do not work well together.
It would be so fucking funny to see them, though.
But yes, if we can get Sanders or Fetterman to run and grind the Democratic Party's bones to make his bread, then I feel like that would be the best way to go. See, this is the thing. We don't have a lot of options. We're very close, like we're very likely in like 2024 or 2026 to have basically, or 2028 or whatever, to have no left-wing people running in the election at all. And that's more what the US's default is like, so.
We should get Ron Paul 2012.
Oh no. Okay. Before we get in, some wild Star Trek happened.
I've started to watch Picard season 3. Finally.
You like it?
It's good. It's good.
Did you watch this week's one at all?
No, I haven't caught up yet, but I'm getting there.
This isn't much of a spoiler because it's only the first scene, but a wild Tim Russ appears. We got old man Tuvok for one scene, which is very nice.
Oh, fun.
But
old man Tuvok. He wouldn't be that much older though, would he?
Well, the thing is, I think they established that Tuvok was already very old in Voyager.
Oh, that's true.
Because he was on the Excelsior during the events of the Undiscovered Country as an ensign. So my guess is that he's definitely earned gray hair, and I do like that they let him have his natural hair this time. They finally let Vulcans be black in the 25th century.
That's good. At last.
Which is funny because I've heard that on set, apparently Tim Russ was like the biggest like practical joke person.
That's hilarious, actually, to imagine him, because he seems very stoic as a person too.
Apparently, he's a big joker. He was a guy where like there was I'm listening to the Delta Flyers, which is the podcast where Garrett Wang and Robert Duncan McNeil go through every episode together.
Oh, that's fun.
and they were talking about how Tim. There's like a scene where Tuvok is naked, and they had him come in like the boxers, and he like stuffed a whole bunch of socks into his stuff, and just made no mention of it to just see how people would react.
Would anyone bring it up?
Yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah, that show's great. But
I also do love, and this has been an ongoing thing since almost the beginning of the Picard show. I love how 7 of 9 just decide, like, they made a choice with the character of 7 of 9 because she has a romantic thing with, what's that guy called?
Raffi.
Oh,
are you talking about Chakotay?
In Voyager. Yeah, like they just like Chakotay's gone. He's dead. He doesn't exist.
So
he's
deleted
from the timeline.
Did you watch any of season 2?
Yeah.
So apparently there was going to be a Chakotay cameo in like, because you remember there was like the episode where they go to like this fascist alternate dimension, and it turns out that 7 of 9 is like president of Earth.
Yeah.
They were going to have it so that Robert Beltran was going to play Chakotay as like fascist universe, like Seven's husband, but he didn't want to do that. So.
Yeah. So they had to get some other guy to be the husband in that parallel universe.
Mm-hmm. But that was originally written for Chakotay, which would have been fun.
It would have been fun. I'm just happy he doesn't exist in the Prime timeline because I like.
He does. He's going to be in season 2 of Star Trek Prodigy.
But at least he doesn't date 7 of 9. Like they've split, and I'm happy about that. That's she's safe.
But now they're definitely.
I don't like his character.
They're definitely they're ganging her up with Raffi, the Star Trek character, the only Star Trek character who vapes.
I have to Google. Who the fuck is Raffi?
Rafaela? She's been in Picard the whole time. She's
that one, yeah.
Picard's old friend who has a drug problem.
Yeah. I forget their names. Honestly, like the Picard series has not been very memorable to me.
That's fair.
I'm sad to say.
This season's done very this season they got a new guy, Terry Matalas, who also is like apparently a very big fan of 90s Star Trek, and you can tell there's a lot more of that in this season. Also, just really fun stuff like I love the new Captain Shaw.
Mm-hmm.
Such an amazing, such a fun character. And
it's fun to see it's fun to see a guy who's a stickler who's also not like universally evil, because that's every other sort of like rule stickler captain in all other Star Trek shows.
I just like that he just calls out blatantly like a bunch of, like basically the hypocrisy behind every single heroic that the TNG cast has done over the years.
Yeah, I love that. That's very fun.
I love Micah Burton acting alongside her dad.
That's fun too.
Yeah,
that was really fun.
Geordie's daughter in the show, the one that is his assistant, is his actual daughter. I think it's LeVar Burton's daughter. And she's like an up-and-coming actor herself. She does a lot of stuff for Critical Role, which I think is really wild. That's a crossover.
I know, right? It's a small world.
And also that they have found yet another way to have Rick Berman come back for like for his like 6,000th character. And also, I just love that there's randomly Moriarty in an episode. That was wild. Like I was like, that was not okay.
I haven't reached the Moriarty part yet.
There is a Moriarty part.
I'm looking forward to it.
But it was wild to just think that there is like Moriarty is a thing that like they decided to like that out of all the things to bring back. I was like, Moriarty, huh? Okay.
Yeah, from that one episode of TNG.
There was 2. He had a sequel episode later in the show.
Oh, that's true. That's right. Came back.
Because they were like, we're just going to save you in the computer and we'll deal with you later. And he's like, okay, but you better do that. And then they forget about him for like 5 seasons. And then he goes back and is like, hey, what the hell, guys?
We had a deal.
Yeah, Shaw definitely has an arc that he has to go through. I hope that he gets better by the end of the season because, yeah, his, what's it called? His Borg naming of, unborg naming of 7 is not nice. But
yeah, that's fucked up actually.
but I feel, but you will learn soon enough that there's PTSD roots in it, but that is hopefully he will come through an arc on that.
We can only hope.
Yeah, and also I stand an episode being called Dominion. The most recent episode's title is Dominion.
Ooh, fun.
And this is...
I'm gonna binge today, I think.
This is my own personal theory because of some stuff and some choice words that were used. I think that the main villain is being set up to be Species 8472. That's my theory.
Oh,
because
fun.
Because they're doing so much stuff with Voyager and with TNG, I'm like, okay, this seems to fit. And furthermore, I feel like a piece of lore that they could introduce that would make a lot of sense to me is that changelings originally came from fluidic space. That feels like a thing that could be true in an interesting way.
That makes a lot of sense, and they haven't done a lot of stuff with fluidic space, so that would be really fun.
Yeah, because
I can buy that actually. Yeah. That'd be really, really fun. Species 8472, we haven't seen them like a ton outside of Voyager, but I would
not at all. I don't think. And there's good CGI now too, so.
Oh shit, that's true.
Like the last and if it's going to be an expensive CGI character, then they would probably only wait to have it in a couple episodes because they'd be too expensive. So. But there was an episode. There's in the most recent episode there was this weird emphasis on the word fluid, and that's where I'm like, oh, they're setting this up. I think they're doing this. So we'll see what it is, because they were talking about portal guns and or portal weapons, and I'm like, oh, they're trying to open up a portal to fluidic space, and Species 8472 is going to come through, and it's going to be wild and crazy. That's my. I gotta be like, Jesse, I know that you're under a 10,000 NDAs about this, but tell me.
Does Jesse know shit that we don't? Jesse knows freaking everything.
She's on the Rolodex of people who Paramount sees as reviewers of the show, so she gets the season ahead of time as so that she can pre-record her reviews for the day they come out. So
that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. But she's definitely under the biggest NDA ever to not talk about any details about what she's seen with it.
I like how Jesse has that. I'm on the Rolodex for freaking Paradox games. I don't even make Paradox content. But I've managed to sneak my way in there.
Sweet.
This is the benefits of being a YouTuber that they don't tell you. You get access to shit.
Oh, interesting. Sounds nice. I want some of that.
You gotta bother Paradox a lot about getting the video games, and they'll give it to you.
The problem is that I'm very Canadian. There is the random history press that sometimes randomly sends me review copies of books to my on topics that I know nothing about, to my my PO box. That's about it.
Fun.
There is a wonderful trans girl named Juniper who lives in Utah who works in a used bookstore, and anytime she finds a crank conspiracy book, sends me a bunch of them.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Okay, we do occasionally answer. Wow, we got halfway through the stream and haven't answered a question yet. This is
to be fair, I showed up late.
It's all good. Okay. The first one comes from Polish Tobias Zarimba. Polish Tobias because it's Tobias with a Z at the end. Tobias. Anyways, question for Mia. What do you think about the idea of creating a pan-European army?
I'm not opposed to it, honestly. I'm more in favor of that than I am of NATO.
Charlemagne's dream.
If we need to have a fucking... if we need to have a big defense alliance between European countries, I would prefer it to be as an expansion of the EU rather than as part of NATO, because currently the EU has a track record of letting European nations kind of fuck around and find out, which I think is actually a good thing. NATO is a lot more sort of has more like unified ideas around shit, which means that like you really gotta kowtow to NATO ideas in order to like get what you want. Mm-hmm. Something that like the big reason why I've been anti-NATO is because like Turkey is demanding.
You don't have to say NATO. You could just say whatever the U.S. wants for the most part.
Yeah, this is true. Whatever the U.S. wants, but also what Turkey wants.
Actually, and yeah, I was going to say the king of NATO is now Turkey. I forgot.
But because like there are two countries that haven't like approved Swedish entry to NATO, and it's Turkey, and they want us to deport like half of our Kurdish population, and for us to repress the other half, and to ban the political party that I'm a part of because we keep waving flags of the PKK, and
based.
Yes. Can I say that? Probably shouldn't say that. Anyway, so that's Turkey. Hungary is also here and has also floated the idea of like demanding shit for us to join. I don't like that. We're already part of the EU though, and I think like I have criticism against the EU, but at least we're in it and we can do a bit like kind of what we want as part of that. And I would prefer to just like keep building on that relationship than like kowtowing to the demands of like each individual member state of NATO. Mm-hmm. But we're already kind of getting it because like more and more military divisions are being placed under German high command. So even though it's not like a European military, like Belgian divisions and Danish divisions and French divisions and like I think most Dutch divisions are now being like placed in the hierarchy of German high command. So like we're getting one, but it's just Germany.
Okay, I got a proposal. I'm gonna be like that TikTok guy with the trade. So you receive Pan-European Army. I receive Sweden joins the Eurozone.
I'm fine with it. I'm honestly fine with it. I actually don't. I like the Swedish crown is nice, but I don't care about it that much.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know enough about sort of like monetary policy to say whether or not that would be an amazing or a really bad idea. But like the Swedish inflation is already sort of like in line with a lot of other nations. I mean, for selfish reasons, I would prefer Sweden keeps the krona because it means that every time the economy crashes, I make more money on Patreon. Because the exchange rate between US dollars and Swedish crowns becomes better for me. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, I like mine. So I like mine for this one reason. The exchange rate for me, it works really well because I think so the way that Standard's whole thing works is that they do a 20% like thing, right? And the exchange rate works that I basically get in Canadian dollars almost exactly what what the full amount looks like in American dollars. And I'm like, okay, I can budget around that. That's easy for me to manage.
That's nice. Yeah, I have a hard time budgeting actually with like YouTube money just because of fluctuations in exchange rates. Like I can make more money on Patreon, but make less money in my bank account because of exchange rates. It's really fun. I had a period actually where the exchange rate dropped 20%. And I got like $400 extra on Patreon. Like I got a bunch more patrons. My channel grew like significantly. I made more money on ads. Made the exact same amount of money. Just because the exchange rate like ate up all those gains.
Yeah, Canada's so dependent on trade with the US that we like work very hard on keeping our currency like exactly like a certain percentage below the American dollar, so it's cheaper for them to buy Canadian goods at all times. And the only times that it's ever like the Canadian dollar has gone over the American dollar has been in times when America's economy is doing really badly, and we haven't found ways to correct yet.
Yeah,
it happened once, like that time in like the early 2000s when like oil became like $300 a barrel and everybody freaked out. That was when, because we are an oil exporter, like very quickly and very precipitously, the Canadian dollar became like way stronger than the American dollar. And we were like, no, our entire economy depends on this not being the case. Yeah, that was a wild time.
But the point is anyway that like I think I prefer the EU over like NATO if we need a military at all. I would prefer we don't, but you know, like geopolitics being what it is, I guess we kind of do.
Yeah. So are there many, like, I know that they've fallen out of favor in recent years. There's got to be a few of you guys though who are like still like the EU could be a country someday.
Oh, for sure. I'm not familiar with a ton of them, but like EU federalism is becoming like a much more talked about idea in Europe. Like good. way more than it's ever been.
I was worried that like Euroscepticism was like starting to become the dominant idea.
I think it's pretty up there too. Like I think the dominant ideology of Europeans is like Euro ambivalence. Like no one really has strong opinions, and then like more people became Eurosceptics, but it was still not the majority. And now we're just getting like pro-Europeans in a weird coalition, and like I like the concept of like a federal EU. I think that's fun. It's probably not going to happen.
I will have to say you will have to say that you live in a country where the capital is Brussels.
Yeah, and fuck that. Absolutely fuck that. But I want to have a scenario where I want to do this for a few reasons. One, it probably wouldn't do that much of a difference because like unified borders, unified currency, European Court of Justice, Europol, like we already kind of have a federal government. So like what would change like practically?
Okay.
Like if we were a federal country versus not. The thing that would change is Europe has a lot of monarchies. So this would be one of the first times in human history where we create a nation where the elected head is technically a higher position than the monarchs, because the monarchs would only be monarchs over like a region of it, and then you would have like the president of the EU or whatever who would be above all of them, which has never happened before, and I love this.
Mm-hmm.
I want this to happen because there's going to be two alternatives. Either this is just the way it happens and we get to cuck monarchs, or there's a contest between the monarchies about who gets to be emperor of Europe.
And you know what you do? Instead of having a succession crisis over that, you have a perfectly baked in way to decide who gets to be the royal family that rules Europe, and that is Eurovision.
Yes. If Sweden wins, the Swedish monarchy gets in charge.
Whoever wins Eurovision any given year gets to have their monarch be in charge of Europe, get to be the king of Europe for 1 year.
If Germany wins, the European Union is a republic now.
Yep. And also, yeah, the Germany will be so powerful. Okay, I bet I can solve this. All right, you can get European federalism. Here's how it works. Everybody is allowed in except for Belgium. Belgium just gets excluded. And you go and contact the Dutch, and the Dutch will build a series of dikes and canals to wall off Belgium from deporting its corruption into Europe. Because I also learned on that podcast about the 30 Years' War that the Dutch just randomly won battles because they built waterworks to to square off battlefields and stuff. And I'm like, God damn.
Yeah.
You develop things as a culture when you basically live in a swamp for 1,000 years.
Yeah, you get really good at water management.
Yeah. So the Dutch have to wall off with water Belgium so that they can't escape. And then once Germany has total control of the entire continent, we can restore the entire continent to what is Germany's natural governing state, which is several thousand small principalities. And just make big HRE.
Yeah.
Where Europe is made up of like every 3 block area is its own principality.
I'm in favor of it. Anarcho-monarchism is real.
Especially if we can have it so that like we get a lot of those like prince bishoprics back that were like weird compromises in the deal where like they have to trade between a Catholic and a Protestant bishop running the area between, like, they take turns being Catholic and Protestant.
God.
And then Charlemagne's dream will come true. A Europe that is completely politically united, but is broken up into 10,000 pieces, just as Charlemagne intended.
See, I don't see the problem with this.
Yeah. Think about it. Like, every country has, like, 16 independence movements. They all win. You know?
All of them win.
Brittany...
And also make every municipality also becomes its own nation.
Yeah.
All part of the EU.
It's beautiful. Everybody, we have solved it. That's Europe. That is the most beautiful country. The FIFA World Cup of countries. Oh man, if you think about it, if every like 2-block area gets its own country, imagine the football tournaments. The brackets would be humongous.
They already are humongous.
But like all the countries are under one, so like all of their little like local FCs could all become one mega league.
Oh, that's true. Giga League.
The Giga League, yeah. They were gonna kick so many balls so hard.
To be fair, this is what Europeans want. They want to figure out ways to artificially inflate the football economy.
Yeah. Europe is an artificial intelligence that is designed for maximizing games of football. That is...
maximizing games of football and high-speed rail.
Yeah. In fact, they're going to invent a new sport, which is... It's like Rocket League, but with trains. Actually, if you think about it, that's kind of what foosball is.
That's true.
And Germans fucking love foosball.
They fucking do.
Foosball is literally what if football, but everybody was on a track.
Every fucking German bar has like 2 foosball fucking tables, and they're always occupied.
Yeah, well, the thing is, like, so I didn't know that. So when I was here, and like we had like, you know, our bars might have 1 maybe, and it's like no one ever uses it. But like there was a semester when I was an undergrad where I hung out with the French and German exchange students who got along for some reason. No land wars broke out anyways, but then we went to the bar and we saw a foosball table and they all freaked out and they were like, no, you must play the foosball. And I'm like, no, thank you.
You must play it.
You must play it. So after all of the French and German people took turns destroying my ass with facts and logic at foosball. But if you think about it, it is the most European sport. It mixes their love of trains and football.
It's true.
And also, it's another way, if Europe had its own military and could focus on its own self-defense, then the Germans could be like, hey, Washington, you know this giant, like, partial city you built in the middle of Berlin? Get it the fuck out of here. Which seems to be happening more and more. I don't know if you saw this yesterday, but Brazil and China announced a bilateral trade agreement that involves them no longer using American dollars as an exchange of currency.
Oh, that's fun.
So the Brazilians... So like the whole dollar being the default currency of international trade might be breaking down.
That's really bad for the US.
Yeah. And
because like half the entire reason why the US can like keep like loaning money to itself in perpetuity forever and have it not be an issue is one of the big reasons is because the dollar is like the world reserve currency. If that ever stops happening, the US will fall apart. That's just like a guarantee. Like the US economy will collapse. Like overnight if that starts happening. So
Brazil doesn't accept US dollars. I don't get economics. The way that it works is that every country on Earth, because of the Bretton Woods system, which was sort of like a meeting at the end of World War II to decide how international politics works, basically the entire world agreed that American dollars were just going to be the default currency that countries use to trade with each other. The problem, though, is that means that every country that's not America has to spend crap loads of money buying American dollars and have a reserve of American dollars so that they can just trade with other countries. But if they return to organizing, first of all, trade gets a lot more complicated, and like basically it really hurts free trade type organizations. But it could mean that there's a lot of times where people won't rely on buying American money. And as Mia rightfully pointed out, the U.S. is in ridiculous amounts of debt that would put Greece to shame. The only reason it can do that is because because every country is buying American debt by buying tons and tons of American dollars, basically inflating America's financial system. If that ever stops happening, the U.S. would have a financial collapse that would put, if all of the pigs countries in Europe all collapsed at the same time, it wouldn't even come close. It would be one of the biggest financial disasters in human history, I think.
Oh yeah. Yeah, for sure. You would require a complete restructuring of the American economy at that point.
Mm-hmm. The other thing too is that Brazil, President da Silva is apparently also looking into building a unified currency with other countries in this sort of what's called, I think, the Pink Revolution that's happening right now, which is like all these socialist movements that are propping up in South America.
It's fun.
So they were like, what if we had what if we made a South American currency that covered all of these, so that they also, because South America is also heavily stuck in being basically suzerain countries to the United States through money, so they could also just start trading with each other in their own currency. Yeah. Which, for example, the United States is the number one purchaser of Brazil's beef, which is Brazil's largest export. Yeah.
Yeah. I can imagine that because China imports a lot of beef too, right? I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, more and more. And the two big producers are Brazil, America, and actually I think Canada's pretty big on it too.
Because this is one of the reasons why Europe is doing also pretty well in the financial sector, not necessarily in the economic sector, but the financial sector, which are two different sectors for God knows what reason. And just because Europe uses the euro, so a lot of European countries don't need to trade in dollars as much, because we can just trade in euros instead, and that sort of facilitates a lot of trade between countries within Europe, and it also makes sense for countries like Sweden and Norway and other countries that don't use the euro, because instead of buying dollars you can buy euros. Mm-hmm. And it's great for the European Central Bank, but it's bad for the American Central Bank. Mm-hmm. But I need to learn more about fucking financial.
But it's probably a good thing, because German banks are very, very conservative and are very focused about. For some reason that I can't explain, German banks seem very preoccupied with making sure inflation doesn't get too bad. So has nothing to do with anything that happened in the 1930s in Germany. But anyways, but it means that European, the euro is very focused on being a very stable currency, and its value hasn't changed a whole lot since it's inflation's very, very Europeans care a lot more than Americans about keeping inflation under control. They're a lot more conservative in that sense.
But also, I think a big reason for why they do it also is because if inflation rises too much in a wealthy country, suddenly Slovakia collapses. So they have the interest of sort of balancing out all different countries in economic basis, even though because inflation changes. Inflation isn't uniform despite the currency being uniform. So you'll end up with weird measures where people will. It becomes it has self-correcting mechanisms inside of it, because if a good becomes more expensive in Western Europe, but not in Eastern Europe, people just buy from Eastern Europe like tax free, and it sort of like helps equalize prices. So that it helps. It works really well with sort of like stabilizing inflation, like you mentioned.
Yeah, it's got to be. I mean, yeah, if you're balancing one currency that's in so many countries that have so many different like different economic strengths, it's like you got to be a little bit. You got to be careful with that shit. Yeah.
And also because every country is like very, very like has very different sort of resources too.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Italian economy and like the Swedish economy are radically different economies.
One import, one export. One is all about exporting steel. The other one is about exporting Bugatti and spaghetti.
And having a fucking electricity deficit.
Yeah. Every time,
Italy, more power plants.
Every time I hear about Italy and I learn that their biggest export is like high-end engineering goods, I'm like, that doesn't sound right.
You know, right? Did you know what Italy's biggest export was in the 1950s?
Sexual harassment?
Kind of. Accordions.
Beautiful.
Like, that doesn't make sense. Like, accordions is not an export. It's not a mass export good. But apparently...
They just didn't have that much economy happening at the time.
That's true. Italy was having a few moments.
Yeah, but so people are saying that like the U.S. would never let something like that happen. Well, the thing is that the reason why such agreements can actually really happen is because Beijing is involved, and it's one of the many signs that we should be looking at now that I posted the story yesterday on my Twitter with just a GIF of a what's it called, an eclipse, because it's just one of those signs that the U.S. isn't calling the shots anymore. Because like it's China, what's America going to do about it?
Yeah.
Speaking of that, the next question here is: given Canada's current anti-China obsession, would you be interested in doing a video about anti-Asian racism in Canada? Well, that's not much of a question, but I don't feel like I am close to being equipped to talk about such a subject. But yeah, Canada is having the most fake controversy of all time right now.
Mm-hmm.
So the Conservatives are trying to delegitimize the Trudeau government, and it looks like CSIS might be helping. CSIS is like Canada's secret like intelligence thing. It's Canada's CIA. It's very cute. But what it's doing, basically they're trying to imply that China interfered in the 2021 election. As I mentioned, the 2021 election, the one where very little changed seats-wise. But, so essentially they found like one politician, one liberal MP who might have taken some money from people. Like he was like an MP who was like in a riding that has like a lot of Chinese speakers and did a lot of his campaigning in Chinese, because that's just the people who live there.
Yeah.
And basically they were like, this person, because of these very complex things, is taking money from China to win this like one random seat. And it's like, but apparently our like right-wing weirdos are apparently going to Ottawa this weekend to get mad about it. So it's very weird.
Typical.
Yeah, so Canada always latches on to whatever weird thing America's obsessed with, and hating China right now apparently is part of that.
That's interesting. I feel like this is a Pacific Rim country issue, because like no one in Europe is talking about China. Like everyone here is still talking about Russia.
Well, the thing I would argue that, and I argued on the podcast, much to some people's frustration, that the fact that the Russia thing is happening is because of China. Like, I feel like Russia would not have been able to get away with what they're doing right now if it was like 15 years ago, because they know that they have an ally in Beijing and that the US can't just like bully them into submission.
Yeah.
And instead of like, being sanctioned into hell and back, Russia's responded by deepening its relationship with the sort of Belt and Road Initiative and just basically getting a deeper relationship with Beijing. And Beijing is very reliably and very solidly building a network of trade relationships and alliances with all of the countries that feel like America fucked them over, which I don't know if you know much history, but that's a lot of them. So I don't know. Like I feel like a thing like the Ukraine war could not have happened without this sort of, we're coming very close to the Chinese eclipsing of America's power. Yeah, I'm not saying this as a good or a bad thing, by the way. I'm not. I do not know if this is a good or a bad thing at the moment. It's a complicated mixed bag of things. Canada, I'm surprised Canada hasn't doubled down on anti-Russia stuff as well. Oh, yeah, we totally have. Canada is, for a country that is extremely far away from Ukraine, seems very, very invested in the war. And that's just because Canada has a huge Ukrainian diaspora population that our politicians are trying to pander to.
I can see that as being a reason. Because America doesn't talk as much about Ukraine as it maybe should. But America doesn't have to cater. Europe obviously talks about it, but that's just because we're close.
Yeah. Depending on who you talk to, America has been getting involved by blowing up Germany's oil pipeline or gas pipeline.
If that's true.
If Seymour Hersh is to be believed.
Blowing up Nordstrom?
I'm not saying yeah, the blowing up Nordstrom's the Nordstrom pipeline.
It's not Nordstrom. It's like, what the fuck is it called? Nordstrom?
It's the Nord Stream.
Nord Stream. Yeah, that sounds right.
The only thing though is that
it's the same word then. If it's Nord Stream or Nordstrom, it's the same word. Stream and strum is stream.
There you go. My guess is that it's probably like I would hazard a guess that I can't verify if Seymour Hersh is right. He's said a lot of things in his life, but I will say it's the only motivation that makes sense to me. It's the only country I could see doing it that makes any sense to anybody's outlook. And it would probably justify your ire as well because it was possibly done with the collaboration with Norway.
Yeah, I can see the rationale about it. I just think it's too stupid to actually have been happened.
It is America we're talking about, which they would do something that's stupid.
Yeah, I just know that like during that time of the war, I know that a lot of like self-organized militias here in Europe were sort of like, let's take the fight in our own hands and let's do our own shit and let's help out Ukraine by like waging asymmetrical warfare all over Europe. So like I can honestly just see this being like some Swedish like dudes who decided to be like, oh, let's blow up a pipeline, and doing that.
I mean, we'll see.
The Swedish organized, like self-organized militias are like insane. They'll do that kind of shit.
Blowing up a pipeline like that though is pretty tough. Like I feel like you need specialized people for that kind of thing.
Probably.
But yeah, what I'm gonna say is I can't verify if Seymour Hersh's thing is true or not because he's the only person who's reported on it so far. But I will say that if it turns out to be true, it would not surprise me even a little bit.
Yeah, it's a plausible thing.
I mean, the CIA basically killed one of your prime ministers. I mean, you can't say that officially, but let's be honest.
Oh, but they did though. I can say it. I'm putting my party logo in the corner. The CIA killed Olof Palme and we're getting payback. They killed Olof Palme and they killed modern day social democracy.
Yeah. So it's not like it's definitely in the wheel. Like America doing a Black Ops operation that seems extremely stupid and doesn't accomplish the thing they want. That's like almost the default on what American Black Ops operations look like.
That's true.
All right, let's see what got another question here. Do you think it's important for historians and archaeologists to try and avoid projecting the concerns of their own time when trying to explain why past events happened? The other day I watched a history video where the host made the observation that in the early 20th century, the Bronze Age collapse was commonly attributed to mass war. Around the 1970s onward, historians started to talk about climate shifts. And now in the age of globalization, the internet, there's a focus on complex system collapse. He made a point of saying that they're probably all contributing factors. The timing of when these started talking about them is kind of interesting. So I would
that's a big thing about like not viewing history like anachronistically. It's really difficult to do that as sort of like demonstrated, but I think. But like at the same time, like I think multiple explanations to similar historical scenarios are good to have, if anything. Like, because the fun part about history is that like coming up with new theories, unless you actively like discover evidence, which you very rarely do in history, like. The previous theories don't go away, right? Like it builds on each other, and I think this is something that like stands the history apart a little bit from like other sciences, because like in biology, if you figure out a fact about something, usually that displaces a previously held theory, but in history, like none of the theories are definitive, so
the explanations just get more complicated.
Yeah, you get more of them, and then you have like experts who have to keep all of the theories sort of like together and like try to reason out the more reasonable ones.
In the Anglo world, we call it thick description, which is supposed to be that there's no like overarching theory. It's just that we get a basically thicker and thicker understanding of what's going on. I would also say that what this person is referring to here is basically the development of historiography, because what they're talking about here is basically us, in response to things going on in our time, taking an interest in different areas that hadn't really gotten a lot of attention before. And as we do that, looking at past events and seeing if they might fit the thing. Like complex system collapse in more recent times, but also, the 1970s is when environmental history started becoming a bit of a thing, and people started looking at different cases in the past and being like, hey, did the environment play a role in this? So in many ways, there's a bit of a cart before the horse thing on that. But it's not so much us projecting our concerns as much as it is like those kinds of topics motivating people to look at history in a way that hadn't been looked at before, and trying to figure things out.
If anything, like done right, it helps like the historical science a lot, right? Because you get to, as you say, you get to explore historical events and perspectives from new perspectives. I'm just thinking like we've known about sort of like Magnus, like to talk about like my own shit, like we've known about Magnus Hirschfeld like since the 30s, right? But he's always sort of been placed in the historical context of like gay shit, and it's only kind of recently
I read that book,
like since gay shit. But it's only been like recently, like in the 2000s, when his work has been sort of like both rediscovered, because like in terms of gay history, it's not super big. Like he's part of it, but he's not a major. He's not the most major player in it. But now it's been recontextualized in like the early 2000s and like the late 90s, in light of like trans people becoming more apparent, and then we get then we re-examine Hirschfeld's work from a trans lens. Like we ignore the sexuality part, which has been the main focus of historiography about him. And now there has been much more study about Hirschfeld's work on like trans stuff, even though that was always there, and even though that was always like in the mind of previous historians. Now it's like becoming the main focus, and you can learn a lot more from that. Like, it doesn't cancel each other out, but it's sort of like it gives multiple perspectives, like we said earlier.
Dummy thick description.
Dummy thick history.
And thank you for giving me $5 and then posting some fucking LG, like, what's it called? Some homophobic shit. Thanks for your money, bitch.
Oh, no. I need to say something that's kind of funny.
Sure.
Noam Chomsky. I'm trying to sneak up on this historiography, but the collab of my dummy thick history keeps alerting the anachronists.
Oh no. That was the what's it called? The Chomsky Foucault debate had some after session tapes that comes out, and this is what the discussion's about.
I believe it.
Mm-hmm. Oh man, I can't believe that I had an actual conversation with Noam Chomsky and I did not ask about any memes that had to do with with Michel Foucault. Because like he's the guy who represented, like, he was like modernism good, and Foucault was like actually postmodernism good. But honestly, I would have loved to have fucked around a lot more, but I'll give you the down low on how it went, and it was, hi, I'm here to do a talk. I have another interview. I just came from an interview, and I have another interview after this, so let's make this quick.
He seems like a very busy man.
Yes, but I did get to do my, like, you're the reason I went into academia. You changed my life.
That's
you informed all my politics, and he was like, oh, that's very nice.
That's cute.
Yeah. Okay. So that was like, because I had actually like on my like short list of like things I wish to do with my life, and one of them was just see Noam Chomsky talk live, and I got the best version of it. So I legitimately blew my mind that I was able to cross that off my like life wish list in like the hugest way possible. So I'll take it. Yeah, this is also the second time a right-wing shithead has given me super chat money for something that they get instantly banned for. I don't understand.
Like, thanks for the money, bitch.
Yeah. I'm very sorry that there's gay people in Sri Lanka. Oh no. Okay. Is there an issue with old infrastructure in Canada? I heard that Montreal is still replacing lead pipes. Oh, hell yeah. Canada's a fake country, so of course we don't have any infrastructure.
And you still have better infrastructure than the US.
I mean, yeah, that's because
the US is an even figure.
America built all of its infrastructure in the 1930s and then stopped. Like, remember how that snowstorm happened in Texas and all the power went out? And they said that if they hadn't, like, intervened at a very specific moment, they would have been without power for months.
Yeah. And then that almost happened again. And then that summer, it had that power grid had issues again because it was too hot.
Damn. Yeah, I think what's it called? I'm gonna give some money to mermaids with that guy's money. That sounds like a good idea. I'm gonna do that.
I just got a pop-up. I got an email from an alcohol company asking if I want to do a sponsorship. I can't do a sponsorship for alcohol.
You can't?
Fuck. No. It's like Swedish law. I can't.
Okay,
Wait,
okay.
Can you do that? Can other countries do that?
I don't
just
know.
Like whiskey.
I don't know what the laws are here. We have beer commercials. But we definitely can't do it for cigarettes, but I don't know about alcohol. Ooh. I just looked at my email inbox real quick when I was browsing between tabs to find the questions. But I just heard the best thing, everybody. Somebody's reaching out to me from a digital marketing agency because they want me to promote the game Raid Shadow Legends. It's like the 50th time Raid Shadow Legends has tried to get on Step Back, and I'm like, fuck off.
They reached out to me once, and that was it.
Raid Shadow Legends reaches out to me on like a monthly basis.
Did you answer to them at one point?
No.
Just saying like
I just ignore it.
Because I obviously I don't want to like get sponsored by them either, but like they don't reach out to me. What am I doing wrong?
You know what's the sketchiest thing that those kinds of emails do? is the ones where they pretend like they already sent you an email and you didn't answer, so that it feels like you have to apologize to them when they did not send you an email in the first place.
I hate that. Just being like, oh, I'm just checking back. You didn't check at all.
Yeah. What's it called? Still get so many business, like, what's it called? Wild West emails. They're just out there. I basically at this point just ignore any emails that come from digital marketing agencies.
I got an email once from a person trying to get a sponsor, but they reached out to my politician email, which is the wrong one.
This bill is sponsored by... This amendment to the city charter is sponsored by Raid Shadow Legends. Do you like stop signs?
This proposal to reduce working hours in the elder care facility is sponsored by Raid Shadow Legends.
Exactly. Someone said,
sign up now.
Someone said, "Wait, sponsors gaslight you?" Oh, fuck yes. Almost every influencer marketing company knows that the majority of people they interact with don't know how much their videos are worth and don't have much business knowledge. So they exploit the ever living shit out of influencers. Like if you don't have like David doing all your work for you, they can really like fuck you over.
Yeah. Like it's also like every person who does their own sponsorships undervalues themselves too, because everyone doesn't want to no one wants to act greedy. But if you're a YouTuber who's not part of a YouTube network, you need to be greedy. Mm-hmm. Like if you get 100,000 views, you can ask for you should ask for like $1 for at least $1 for every, say, like 70 views that you get.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you're not asking for at least $1,000 for a video that will get $100,000, like you're underselling yourself.
Yeah, because you need to at least $1,000.
Yeah,
the $1,000 is like that's where you start.
Yeah,
and then you build up.
But they often try to get somebody like that with like a video like that to walk away with like $400. Like it's actually ridiculous how much they rip you off.
Yeah.
Okay. What do you think about
like $400 sounds like a lot when like you're starting out making YouTube videos, right? But like you got to split those $400 like on every single hour, and it ends up being like way lower than minimum wage. Like than the work you would end for actually even just making the ad.
Plus that ad stays up with them forever. Like it's up there until your YouTube channel doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
Okay. The next question we got here is, what do you think about the positioning of the gay community? I've been reading the self-described party pooper Barnard's text, fuck community, and Ian is making some great points. I don't know anything. I don't know what party pooper Barnard's is. I don't know what the fuck community is.
I have no idea what the fuck that is.
Yeah, sorry. I can't answer.
Never heard
I don't
of
know anything about it. All right. Hey, Tristan. Hi, Ben. For my master's degree, I studied the U.S. far-right /militia/conspiracy theories. This title from Charlottesville to Capitol Hill, a semiotic and framing analysis of the photography of the alt-right in U.S. mainstream media. That definitely sounds like a dissertation title. And your video on the subject are super informative, but will you ever cover Pat Buchanan and his culture war speech? He's one titanic figure at the heart of the convergence point between mainstream media, the far right, and the top of politics. A former speechwriter for Nixon, head of communications for Reagan, used to stoke controversy by saying things like Nazi soldiers were brave, so racist he even had his anti-Semitism called out by William F. Buckley Jr., and his book Death of the West got him fired from MSNBC in 2012. He coined terms like culture war and drain the swamp, laid out the groundwork for conservatives pushing boundaries in acceptable speech, and then crying out about being canceled. He was about 10 years ahead of his time, but was almost the beta version of Trump and MAGA. I mean, I knew some of that stuff about Pat Buchanan. I did. Might be a cool thing to talk about. I've been focusing mostly around movements, but I have been wanting to do a video about George Lincoln Rockwell, so I feel like Pat Buchanan would be a way more relevant person to talk about.
Also, I just want to quickly say thank you to Fallout 2 Forever in the chat, who says that I'm part of the reason why they can continue to not be in the closet.
Woohoo!
Anyone? Trust me, awesome. Thank you so much. I just wanted to to let you know that I saw that in the chat, and I want to let you know that I saw.
Somebody else earlier said that you're looking especially good today.
Thank
Especially
you.
gorgeous, I think was the term.
Ooh, fun.
The flower print shirt's pretty cool.
I'm trying to revamp my fashion style so that I look more professional in the eyes of the voters.
Ah.
And also so that I have nice clothes. Legitimately, though, I have a time booked with a professional stylist that's just gonna make me clothes.
That's pretty nice.
And the party just does that for you, because like, if you're a representative for people, then they want you to look nice.
I imagine
which makes sense.
That must be fun for you. Given your previous work, I imagine that you have an interest in clothes. So
I don't, though. That's
really?
The thing. I have no interest in clothing. In fashion, I really suck at it. Which is also why I'm gonna use the opportunity to just like get a new wardrobe. I'm really, really bad at it. But like, you don't need to be into fashion when you're a fashion model. You just need to show up.
Yeah, I guess I just thought that you would get into that. The reason that you would get into something like that is because you had an interest in it.
No, I had an interest in attention.
Ah, okay, I get that. I mean,
which is
you're a YouTuber
which is why
now,
I have the jobs I have. Yeah. I love attention.
Oh man. All right. May I suggest?
I don't think you read the chat. I read the chat, just so you know. Like, hey, folks watching, I read the chat.
Mm-hmm.
Tristan is like takes charge of the questions, but like I see what the fuck you're saying in the chat. You can't hide from me.
Yeah, I also watch the chat, but Mia's there. Now that we've got the unified chat, you can't hide anywhere from Mia's gaze. A singular eye focused on finding.
The flaming eye, lidless.
Mm-hmm. Oh, by the way, I don't know if I shared this with you on TikTok, but I should show you, which are just, it's these new cuts of the Lord of the Rings, but something. So it's like Lord of the Rings, but it's every time a woman talks to another woman, and it's literally just the scene where like Eowyn talks to like a refugee girl, and then it just shows the end credits.
Or like a split second.
Or the Lord of the Rings, but it's every line that when Legolas talks to Frodo, and it's literally just one line. It's just, and you have my bow, and then it ends.
Yeah. That's fucked up, actually. Like, he never talks to Frodo.
No. What I do like in the book is that the characters are way more one-dimensional, and all Legolas talks about in the books is how much he likes trees. And they don't cover this. This should have been in the movies. But all Legolas talks about is how much he loves trees, and all Gimli talks about is how much he likes digging holes. And at one point, they're like, after this is over, how about the two of us go on a vacation? I'll show you some forests and you show me some holes, and we'll like go do that. And that's what they do afterwards. They just become besties looking at like mines and forests.
Amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, goals. Friendship goals.
It's beautiful. May I suggest you check
I also want to look at home.
May I suggest you check out Tom Tanuki? He's an Australian YouTuber who's been tracking the far right since before. Offers a good look into. Alrighty. Oh yeah, I forgot about this. I forgot that. What's it called? The discourse this week is that another fucking TYT person has gone goblin mode on Twitter. So we started.
I like Kasparian.
Yeah, we started with Dave Rubin, and then Jimmy Dore, and then Michael Tracy, and now Anna Kasparian is like getting mad about a thing that no trans person's ever said.
Well, you know, we're eliminating terms like woman.
Yeah.
God, what the fuck is the Young Turks doing, by the way? Where they just churn out these like really bad takes like continuously, because like on paper it seems like they'd be a lot smarter, and then they're just not.
Yeah, I can't tell if like, I remember thinking that TYT was really good in like 2008, and I'm thinking like, were my expectations so low because there was basically no left-wing media back then, or have they gotten worse? I can't tell.
I honestly don't know. Could be either. But like, I don't think And I don't know. I feel like they've gotten like worse, honestly. It's like, what the fuck?
It's wild. But yeah, Anna
On
Kasparian.
yeah.
For people who want the lowdown, Anna Kasparian tweeted this thing that basically was complaining about people calling people using the term "people with uteruses" to talk about something, a thing that rarely happens and nobody complains about if you mess up, but is a common TERF talking point that's like that's them being censored or something like that. And when everybody pointed that out, instead of like being like, "Oh, sorry about that," decided to double down and triple down, and is like, I don't even know how many levels of downing she is right now, but
yeah, like when I see shit like that, I just like then I just mute the account because I just know that that's going to be a shit show for like 3 months, with them doubling down over and over. Like I don't get it. I don't get why people like get upset over this because like what's happened probably is like they look at some website where some intern has written, like people who have periods, instead of using like women, and just forgot to like mention women as like a group of people who have periods, and like that's it. Like, is that really sort of the end of the world?
mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? Like
I've seen it brought up. I've seen it brought up.
Because also, like that's a whole language thing. But also, what the fuck does that have to do with trans people? Because they always, almost always, they get angry at trans women for it. Trans women aren't even involved in this. Like in this whole shebang that she's talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway,
yeah, what's it called? I feel like I've seen it used in the context of having conversations about things like, hey, maybe we should have period products in men's bathrooms. Hey, that would be really great. But like, or talking about reproductive and pregnancy care for men, like that's a thing. But and it's a way to be inclusive. But it's one of those linguistic things that I have literally not seen a single person complain about. Oh no, have you lost?
No, I can hear you.
Okay.
It just glitched out for a second. But like, yeah, like no one, because like I don't know. I've been involved in trans activism, like actual trans activism for like a couple of years, and like this is not like an issue for like the trans activists. This is not a thing that like people are like. This is not a thing.
Yeah.
So it's a manufactured outrage so that you can justify feeling grossed out by trans people, because that's usually what it all boils down to anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The young Turk.
One of the things that I can say is that trans people do understand. At least most trans people understand what context is, and when you refer to a term like pregnant women, they get it. Like,
yeah,
they understand what you are referring to.
I don't know. I also think that like the internet has had this, like, because of the way the internet works, you start playing this like massive game of telephone. So you'll have sort of like some trans people will ask for something, and then like some website is gonna write something that's like not really what the trans person asked for in the first place, and then a third person is gonna misunderstand that was written and then become really angry about it on a blog, and then someone's going to read that blog and get really angry about that, about how weird the trans people are, even though it's just like completely decoupled from what it actually started out with.
And it's especially bad with TERFs, because TERFs, like, they have these extremely isolated online communities where they just make up shit and then get mad about it.
Yeah. I don't know. Mm-hmm. It's just like it's like this common talking point where trans folks will say like you can't change your biological sex and think that that's a big slam dunk, but then you'll talk to actual trans people and they'll just all of them will be like, yeah, sure, like that's why we have hormones. Mm-hmm. Like that's why we have like
yeah.
what what's the point being made? Like,
You're biohackers. You figured it out.
I'm just so tired.
I'm
so tired of this fucking thing. This is actually one of the reasons why I'm getting into politics too, because I like to think that like if I'm in the room with politicians, like just by being in the room as a trans person, I'm hoping to just make them too uncomfortable to do transphobic politics. Because like I'll be at the coffee machines with them. I'll be in the meetings with them. And they'll have to talk to me.
Yeah, I mean, I think
yeah.
You said that you used to do like workplace discrimination or workplace like education stuff. Like, yeah, there's a lot of, I feel like there are a lot of transphobes where the entire reason that they are transphobic is because they just haven't talked to trans people about anything at all. Which, like,
I mean, for sure,
kind of makes sense because you represent about 0.5% of the population, so it's very easy to not run into some. But it's still like, we tend to have
and like. Yeah, but like, because also like, I'm just thinking of like, all trans people tend to sort of like hang out together, because like when I did that sort of workplace discrimination thing, like most people had never met a trans person before, and that was like this was like in 2016, like had never ever met a trans person before in their lives, and like I was the first one, so I think that like most normie people, like outside of our social bubble, are really stupid, or like not stupid, but rather like just haven't had the opportunity to be exposed to it.
The next question. Oh wow, this is a celebrity question. This is from Vladimir Ivanovich Lenin.
Shit!
First I got Noam Chomsky. Now I've got Lenin.
Hi Lenin.
And asks.
As a left party politician, I have to disavow you, but I also have a begrudging respect for your revolutionary work.
Yeah, great posting energy. Love what you've done with yourself. Sleeping in a vat of formaldehyde for 100 years is
great beard.
Yep.
No notes.
But has been Vladimir Lenin asks if we've been reading.
Oh, yeah, I've been rereading Piketty. Thomas Piketty, Capital.
Ooh,
for fun. And then I've been reading Welcome to Night Vale book for fiction.
Go. I was like, what's the garbage you're reading? Everybody has garbage going too.
Yeah. How about you?
I am currently reading, let me see. Let me look at my currently reading list. My audiobook right now is The Anthropocene Reviewed by John Green.
Oh, fun.
So I'll see how that turns out. The fiction book I'm reading is Parable of the Sower. I'm rereading it. Very good. Although I'm going to hurt myself again because it's part one of a trilogy in which two of the books were read and then Octavia Butler died. So there won't be an end to it. But...
Damn.
And then I'm reading it. Oh, I finished this book. But I'm usually reading a book for enrichment. And right now I am reading a wonderful book that is engaging my brain called The G1 Driver's Handbook, which is a book on what the driving laws are in Ontario so that I can get a driver's license. It's just the manual on how to drive car.
I'm gonna be doing that this summer, so we're gonna be in the same book. Yeah. I love how we're both in the role of like being YouTubers who don't know how to drive.
Yeah, I know a lot. Like almost, like I don't know how to drive. I've never owned a car. If you are also in the same boat, but like I know that Scott doesn't know how to drive, doesn't have a car. And also I believe that like Matt Thoughtslime also like just got his license like last year. So it's a common thing, it seems.
Because leftoids don't know how to drive. That's why we hate cars.
Yeah, that's why we love trains so much. You don't have to drive at all. It's all on rails.
Yeah. watch Left to become like a lot more car positive in like a year or two when we all get cars.
We all get cars. Yo, guys, have you heard about fucking cars?
Yo, bro, like I just got this Tesla Generation S, and it's only exploded twice.
Part of me is like I hate this. I hate that I have to do this, but I live in a city that doesn't let me have a not car and do anything well, and I'm like grumbling about it the whole time. And then I'm like, but like then the next thing I know that like a month later I'm gonna be like, yo, did you know that you could just go to anything you want like right away? Like you could just like my parents live 2 hours away. I could just go there. Like I could just go. Like, I don't have to do anything. Did you know that you could do that? And I know that that's going to be the worst feeling ever because I'm like, I'm giving up on all of my ethics to be like, yo, I could just go to that place. Like, if I needed to go somewhere, I don't need to, like, charter through 16 bus companies and, like, print off a thing and, like, you could just go to the thing.
Just fucking go. Like, I'm pretty lucky by the fact that I live close to, like, a train station and a subway and buses and stuff like that. Stockholm's pretty good, but like, it's just good to have a license. I'm not sure I would ever get a car, but like a license is just good to have.
Yeah, I live in a city that and I have a baby, which makes and I live in a city where public transit is not good.
Yeah, I mean, if you have a baby, like that changes the equation. Like sometimes you just need to go to a place.
Yeah, he needs to go to the doctor like every few months for baby things.
Mood.
They need to inject him with more hormones. No,
it's just like me for real.
Yeah, they just have to inject him full of things that make him not get sick because I'm filling him full of vaccines so that he gets super autism.
You're injecting him with like distilled autism and gay stuff.
I what's it called? I had this autistic roommate when I was in grad school, and we went and got our flu shots one day, and he would just like he had like a one line that like fucking killed me, which is just like, all right, I'm gonna go home. Like if I break out in autism, just let me know. And I'm like, goddamn.
Gets the giga autism.
Yeah. No, but what's it called? You have to, when you have a baby, you have to take them to the doctor like every 2 or 3 months to just be like, is he big enough? Is he tall enough? Are you giving him food? Should we be injecting him with stuff? That kind of stuff.
Yeah. How are the bones growing?
How are the bones growing? I have found that my son is he is the Germanist baby. He is in the 50th percentile on almost every metric. He's the averagest.
Just the median baby.
Except between
statistically pleasing baby.
Statistically pleasing, he's the bell curve baby. Except in the last one, his height jumped to like the 95th percentile. Still 50th percentile on weight, but 95th on
one
length.
Of us.
He's gonna turn into a fucking rail like you. It's gonna be like 6'6", but like 120 pounds. It's gonna be.
Yeah.
I too look forward to racing Slender Man.
It worked out for my parents.
Yeah. Nah, he's great. He's doing well.
Yeah.
You see, you are not dealing with the average autist anymore, Kakarot.
You're dealing with a super autist.
Oh god. Okay. I hope this is not.
What's that fascist guy? Like I'm in the middle of getting some sort of like neurological diagnosis. So if I don't got that, it's something else. So yeah. I feel like when we're in the spot of having like abject positivity, you gotta live in it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I've
we
been
can
lucky.
shift all of these jokes into ADHD, and then we're both like for sure.
Yeah.
In the clear.
I live in the neurodivergent world because I've had doctors and teachers say that I have ADHD since I was like 6. So actually, I think the first person who said the first like expert or authority figure who thought I had ADHD was like when I was like 4, when they wouldn't let me into French immersion school.
Because I've never been suspected of having ADHD or autism ever in my life. Mm-hmm. but that's just because my parents are like no rules, everything goes, like hippies. If I don't study, if I want to not focus on anything, that's fine. Let's go for it. Just enjoy yourself, kid.
I genuinely
which means
hope
that
my son
now
turns out to be stupid. It would be great. He would be so much happier.
one of us is what I'm saying.
Yeah, my
Stupid
goal
gang.
my goal as a parent is to raise a himbo. I wish to raise the nicest himbo ever. Okay, it is 2:00, and while I would love to go over, I actually am releasing a video right after this. So, before we part ways, we got
Himbo
sidetracked
talk
because
over.
so himbo chat has to end prematurely. But before we raid Rob Russo on Twitch, where should people go if they want to consume Mia content?
You should go to miamulder.com. That will take you to my website, which is either my website or takes you directly to my YouTube channel. One of them. I still haven't published my website, but I should soon. And if you want to listen to my podcast, that's on Leechfest. It's just Leechfest on wherever you listen to podcasts.
Yeah. Hang tight. Look on to the Step Back YouTube channel for a new video coming out right now. It's an hour and 12 minutes, so prepare accordingly. And I'll see you guys next time.
Shit.